For those of you who are new to Ask an Angel free call, I'm so glad that you are able to get on and take the time to join us today as a community of light workers who are here to raise our vibration and bring more love and peace to the planet. So, my name is Kelly, and I have been channeling a really, really long time. I started channeling during what was called the harmonic convergence in 1989. And at that time, I was a young college student, and I was under a type of chiropractic care. That for whatever reason, the work that they were doing on me, which was called network chiropractic at the time, which was just a very light touch basically on my spine, just opened something in me. I wasn't trying to channel. I didn't know what channeling was. It just, my body started to move kind of like in a wave. And when that happened, I could just feel this surge of energy come up through my body, and it would make these toning sounds. And over the years, lots of different energies and beings of love and light came through, but the predominant one was always the Angel Raphael. So Raphael and I are kind of like soul sisters at this point. Earlier in the call, I was answering some questions. Someone was saying, I always thought Raphael was a male. And of course, in our religious understanding, we think of Raphael with big wings and a green dress, and it's a male energy. But when Raphael came to me, Raphael said, I am not a male and I am not a female. I am a spiral of white light. And we come to you sometimes in a particular form or gender to make you feel at ease and comfortable, but it's just pure light and love and energy. So sometimes I refer to Raphael as she, and I don't want that to confuse anybody. If you think of Raphael as he, that's perfectly normal and fine. Continue to do that. And that's just my interpretation, that it has no gender, but that's up to everybody to make their own decision. So the way that I channel is I close my eyes and I sort of just kind of drop down and open my heart, and I'll start to connect in with Raphael's energy and vibration. And when that happens, my hands sort of move like this around a bit. And that's me kind of scanning all of you, where Raphael is almost with the hand doing some healing, just sending you some light and calibrating everyone's energy field. Once that's done, Raphael makes this toning sound and goes, hello, like that, in this sweet voice. And then everyone, normally if we're not on Zoom, everybody would say out loud, hello, right back. But Casey, my lovely son, will do that today. And then Raphael will come in and talk about a topic. We were going to talk today about what happens when we pass to the other side, and grief, and how to bring more joy in. So as much as we can cover, we will. If you have questions on those subjects that you would like to ask and you want to throw that in the chat box and we're able to get to that today, that would be great. Or a specific universal question that's really on your mind. We'll see how the time goes. So I think that covers everything. I do want to mention to everybody about my Starseed class that I'm running with Casey. And the reason I share it so much and continue to talk about it, and I will continue to talk about it until it begins on April 3rd, because I feel that it's very important for those of you who feel ready and wanting to take your vibration and your spirituality to the next level, and to unlock codes basically of light that dwell within us that have kind of gotten tucked away and hidden in there, and some of our gifts and talents that we've forgotten about, and bring them to the light and explore moving into other dimensions and doing so much higher work that we can't do on these kind of calls on a Sunday, because we delve deep into a process for 5 weeks together. So that class begins on April 3rd, right before Easter, which is perfect. And it'll be on Saturdays at 2 o'clock. And you might say, gosh, I can't always be there for 5 weeks on a Saturday at 2 o'clock. That's totally fine. If you miss a call, the vibration is completely still present, and you can re-listen to the replay and then tune in to the next call, or whatever calls you can do live, and the rest you can do on your own. Included in that, we will also have a Thursday night time where we're going to be doing sacred, ancient, indigenous ceremony together, which is very powerful. And we're going to have a beautiful call on Tuesday where Casey's going to take and decipher Raphael's messages that can sometimes be etheric and hard to kind of grasp, and do what's called a power of hour and bring them into a practical form on Tuesday morning. So there's going to be a lot of information and content. If you feel called to be a part of that, I'm delighted to have you. All right, I think that's everything I wanted to cover. And so it is time to bring in Raphael and see what comes up. All right.
If you have any question, guys, just keep putting them in the chat, and I'm seeing them all now, and we'll get to as many as we can that kind of fit into what we're talking about. So keep them coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Super. Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello,
Hello.
hello, hello,
Hello.
hello, hello. It is that we are delighted to be here with you from the angelic realm, and we are wanting to remind you, as always, how much we love, 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 love who it is that you are. And it is that when we speak in these terms, we are wanting you to know that it is sometimes a different energy, perhaps, or of a love than perhaps that in which you are thinking of. For it is absolutely and completely and truly unconditional. And so we descend into form and come here into this body or vessel, as you may call it, to talk to you about whatever you're wanting to talk about, to support you in remembering who it is that you are, and remembering the divine being that you are, and where it is that you came from, and where it is that you are going to go. For it is our understanding that you're wanting to talk about death. And it is fascinating that when we are tuning into the vibration of death itself, that there is so much worrying about it. and there is such a heaviness around it, rather than in many respects a celebration. For it is that you're here temporarily, just for a moment, a little bleep perhaps in what you might perceive as time, to experience this dimension and the beauty of the earth, and all that it has to offer, and the senses. And it really is, that is all that it is. And yet you get so caught in the seriousness of it. And that the reason we were wanting to talk about death, and we were wanting to talk about joy, is because we want you to enjoy being here while you are here, for it is a tiny moment in time. And that you don't need to take it so serious, because there's nothing really that you can do that in some level you're not going to bring more awareness to shift or to change at another point. And that it is so important for you to lighten up and to have some fun and to play and to be silly and to laugh and to dance and to tickle each other and to have a good time. For it is that there's this blanketness sometimes of worrying and heaviness and thinking that resides over the collective consciousness. And one of the things that has gotten so in the way of all of you experiencing joy is the forgetting about recognizing that the heart is the driver of who it is that you are. for you've gotten very, 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 very caught in the mind. So in order to begin to tune in and to tap into the vibration of joy, you might want to wonder, well, what is the opposite of feeling joy? Perhaps it is unhappiness. And where is it that unhappiness is born from? Well, where do you feel unhappy? How do you become unhappy? What is unhappiness? Unhappiness comes from the mind. It comes from thinking. It comes from overthinking. It comes from when the mind attaches itself to something that either has happened or a worry about something that will happen. That's where unhappiness is born from. And so when you can become aware of the thinking mind, when you can begin to put the mind itself back in its place and in its corner where you are the driver of it rather than it dictating for you the feeling and the emotion in which you're experiencing, you open up a space within your energetic field for joy to begin to flow. Because all that joy is a vibration and a frequency of energy that is moving and flowing through the body, that came with you, that you were born with, that is there like a fountain of light that is moving all around you. And yet the only reason you're not merging with it and always feeling it is because you're blocking it. And what blocks it is the thinking on the mind. And you might say, well, I need my mind. I need to be able to think and to know and to do and to plan and to be. And that is true, for it is there for you to begin to orient yourself around time. But what's happened is that you've become identified, and you begin to identify with external circumstances, thinking that those things are what's going to bring you joy or what's going to make you happy. When I have that new job, or I have that much money in my bank account, or when I meet that loved one, or when I get my new house, or when I renovate my kitchen, or when I get a new car, or when I take that trip, or when my children graduate, or when I get better in my body, or when I feel good all the time, or when my husband behaves in a way that I am wanting, whatever it may be. When you've decided that something externally outside of yourself begins to change, that then you will be happy, then you are identifying your happiness and connecting it and equaling it to the vibration and the entity and the energy of the ego. And the ego wants to keep itself fully and absolutely active and alive. And it does that by identifying with external events in order to create a false identification with what it thinks is the truth around joy and happiness. And yet, when you are identified with something externally, you might say, well, I am happy because I love that person. But are you loving that person unconditionally from a place of the presence of where it is that you are? Or are you feeling that you could not be happy if they were not there, which you're loving them from a place of possession, and then you're not actually loving them at all, and you're identifying with them, and that becomes unstable. For when you are connected to something in which you feel that you will achieve outside of self to create happiness, it is surely going to shift because it's unstable. It can never maintain an equilibrium of perfect moving in an upward spiral all the time. It will have to have its polarity in which it will change. And when it does, ultimately you may feel the emotion of disappointment or whatever it may be, or neglect or abandonment or rejection or whatever. And then you decide, oh, I'm not happy. And then usually with that, there's a story. That person left me, or that person said this thing to me, or that happened to me, or whatever. And that story you begin to identify with. And when you identify with the story, you identify with the past. And when you identify with the past and the story, you're operating out of the ego. And from that place, you are sitting in a vibration that is blocking the flow of purity, of joy, in which you're truly seeking, the thing in which you're really wanting to feel is bliss and joy and love and open-heartedness. And yet it gets in the way when you are thinking that if you have something and then you don't have it, that then you are unhappy, because that's all coming from the thinking mind. So you say, oh, okay, well, that's interesting, Raphael, but you're not living here on earth. You're flying about in what you might perceive as the heavens. And I have to do all of these things. And I'm thinking that if I do them, that then I will be happy. But it is precisely the thinking that is what is keeping you from feeling the joy. And so it is the thinking mind that equals unhappiness. And you say, well, I have to think. But what we're talking about is bringing a conscious awareness to the thoughts that you're having. Because it is the negative thoughts that are creating the unhappiness. When we say, okay, well, what if I always have positive thoughts? Why I will be happy? Well, you'll be happier because you'll be vibrating at a higher frequency, because you'll be placing your attention on that which you are wanting rather than what you are not wanting. But it won't truly bring you happiness if it's still identified with external circumstances outside of who it is that you are. And so it is that what we are here to remind you of is that you are already able and capable of fully merging with and being in the vibration of joy, with the willingness to allow the mind to take a back seat and the heart to move up front and to begin to operate from the heart and from the intuitive sense and opening up what we would call the pineal gland, to be able to align more and more with what many of you might even refer to as the divine feminine, the part of self that has been closed or shut down through cultural society agreements and understandings, in which the activity of the mind that was put in place to be the servant that is now the driver is in the way of you feeling the joy. And so how do you do that? Well, you have to do something that none of you want to do and that you've heard a million times, and yet you must continue to hear it over and over and over and over like a broken record until you begin to fully grasp the understanding that the happiness resides in the presence of the now. Your joy resides in a willingness to accentuate and to feel the senses of the presence of each moment as a witnessing awareness of consciousness. And it is that from that perspective, you are no longer identified or identifying with something outside of self that then you qualify as being what creates happiness, nor are you identifying with a story that you think is who it is that you are. For it is that when we witness and we watch many of you, we are there and here to love you and to support you and to guide you and to nudge you into the remembering of who it is that you are. We sometimes enter into what you call your toric field, into your energetic field, and we can sense your vibration, your energy, your thoughts. And what we hear is stories going around and around and around and around in which you are holding on to. And those stories, most of the time, are anchored in the past of an event or something that happened or a way a person acted or behaved in which triggered you in some way to feel in a certain way, that you're allowing that external circumstance to have an effect on your energetic field, shutting down your energy to the opening and the vibration of the joy flowing through. And so it is that you carry these stories with you, and we don't mean to laugh, but it's quite funny. Let's say that you have a conversation with someone and you're driving along and they're talking to you in the car and they say something and it aggravates you. And then they get out of the car and they go on with their day, and weeks go by and you're still holding on. I can't believe that they said that, and going around and around in your mind about it. And they've moved on with their life. They don't even remember that you had that conversation. It is no consequence to them whatsoever, yet you are carrying it in your energetic field. And when you're carrying it, you're harming yourself because you're deadening the vibration that opens the space or the portal for the joy to flow. And so when you identify with a story that is repetitive, around and around in a cycle of the mind, that is the greatest block that you experience from feeling joy. And so when you begin to remember by being in the presence of now, right here where you are in this now moment, wherever all of you are, as you're on this call listening to this, as you're dropping into the stillness of the now, we want to ask you right here in this moment, are you okay? Right here. Not am I going to be okay in a few moments, not what happened to me that was horrible in the past, But right here, even if you're in physical pain, but right in this second, are you okay? Yes. And can you start to bring your awareness to the room? Can you start to bring your awareness to your hand, to the beating of your heart, to the sensation of the presence of my voice, of the listening? Or are you kind of listening to me right now? And are some of you sort of checking your email and on the phone, talking to someone else and distracted, doing something? That's all right. We're not judging you. But how often are you able to really drop into completely being absolutely engaged in the presence of the now with an open heart, to experience it with all of the senses that are granted to you at the time of birth? And when you do that, and you continue to bring your awareness there as you become the observer and the watcher of your thoughts, you begin to notice a pattern. And all of you have different patterns and different sequences and vibrations of your thoughts. And surprisingly, you would be surprised that some of you feed on actual negative emotion or drama. Poking, let's say, the bear or a loved one to get a rile out of them. That's part of a part of your being that is wanting to identify with the external of the ego. That if I poke them enough and that riles up something in them, then I can attach to that, and that makes me feel more alive. And so it is that that's a cycle that perpetuates itself. And yet, if you are able to witness it just in the little blink of a moment before it occurs, before you say that thing, or before your mind goes off into a spiral of a downward story of what happened to you, or the feeling or the vibration of a victim of something horrible, or the projection or the fear of the anxiety of the future that you will not have enough, or that you will never meet someone, or you'll always be alone, or whatever it may be, and you watch it, and you come back here, almost as if you could step out of your body and just observe as we observe you. You get to see the silliness, the ridiculousness, and all of it. That the ego has somehow been given and put up on a pedestal to think somehow it is this very important thing, that it's in control. And yet, when you knock it off its pedestal and you say, but I am the one that is driving this life force. And what and who is that? Awareness, consciousness. And where is it driven from? The heart, the intuition, the inner silence, the stillness, the emptiness, the knowing, the space between the words, the moment in the now. And so the joy exists every second. It's all around you all the time. It's just turning the dial and tuning into the joy, which means tuning into the presence and the vibration of the moment, with a sense of awe and curiosity, as if you had landed like an alien from a spaceship into this body. And for the first time, you opened your eyes and you looked around with awe at the snow or the sunset, at your hands, at your loved one, at the food, at the taste, of the smell, the feeling, and you begin to really appreciate the senses of the presence of where it is that you are. And that is where the joy comes from. That is how it flows. And so it is that you chose to be here. And you might not remember that. And some of you are really waking up and really remembering. Or even some of you have remembered your Akashic records and how you signed your agreements with the Council of Life before you descended into form. But every single one of you that is here on the planet chose to be here. You're not a victim to being born to the earth. It was a choice from the soul spirit to descend, from the oversoul to come in. And we want you to know that the part of you that is here in the body, in the vessel, is just a small part of who you are. You are so vast beyond the words that can be even spoken of here through this vessel. And so that part of you that is here chose to come, to be here, to experience the joy and the beauty of the earth and the connection and the relationships and the love and the joy of being alive and seeing and smelling and hearing and tasting and feeling and loving and kissing one another. because I want to tell you where I am. I don't get to do that. I don't get to have that delicious juice that you drink in the morning or that cup of coffee. I don't get to taste that kale in my mouth. It tastes so delicious with the olive oil on it. I do not get to put my feet in the sand or see the snow or kiss the cheek of one I love or make love. I do not get to experience the sensation of the human form. And of course you wanted to be here. Of course it was enticing. And when the pulsation of the call came, you said, all right, I'll come. And not only did you come to enjoy the senses and the presence of the moment, to wake up to the divine being that you are, but you chose to come to be on earth right here now in this timeline. And this particular timeline that you chose, what a good one indeed it was, because it is the moment where you are going to leap in consciousness from the deep forgetting in the dark of who you are into the remembering of the full brilliance of your being. And as you leap in that consciousness to the higher frequencies, you begin to notice and see that you are the creator of everything, and that you are the magician that can bring forth and bring into your experience synchronicity and joy and beauty and bliss, by a willingness to change your perception away from the thinking mind and into the heart of the presence of the now, as an awareness of the thought rather than the thought being who you are and identifying with it as the ego that you think you are, stepping back from that and knowing you are more. And so you are here to feel, to know, and to be joy. And so you ask, well, but I am weighed heavy by my daily things. And I say to you, lighten up, lift the veil, pull up the blinds, and find a piece of joy somewhere in your experience, and place your attention and shine your light upon that so it may grow. But what do you do often? You take your light and you shine it over and over and over, around and around and around on a story that you identified, that you think somehow is you, that is so far from actually who it is that you are, it's not even funny. So if you are so fearful of life, one of the things that you fear the most, perhaps, is death. And yet, death is no different than birth. You are just being born back to where you originated from. And so there's nothing to be afraid of. You're just returning back to the pulsation in which you were called for to come here to begin with. And then you just merge. And though there are all different levels and layers of the death process, and you have so many choices to pick from, just like you do when you come here, as you choose a body and a family and a life and a gift and a scenario and a timeline to play out, you do it again and again and again and again, for you are eternal. And there is an infiniteness to the vastness of the love of who you are. And when you lift out of the body and you begin to hover before the final breath, you begin to realize that you are everything. And you begin to notice that there is no time, that all time is an illusion, and that you can notice and feel and connect to everyone and everything all over the planet simultaneously. For you can be in the body there, looking over the body in the hospital, and yet you can be on the train with a loved one coming to see you before you pass. You can be anywhere all simultaneously, because there is only the illusion of the linear idea of time. And in that holographic field of the connectedness of oneness, you recognize that you are the consciousness of everything, and that just different parts of yourself are having different experiences that happen to have just descended for a moment of time in form to express their joy. And yet somehow you have begun to forgotten about the joy and the play and the laughter. So I'm telling you, especially those who perhaps listen with great earnest to an angel, that you are to have more fun. You are to laugh and play and tickle and dance and laugh and joy and express who you are. And begin to dissolve what you think is so important, because as you step back in your awareness and you say, well, is that really that important? How important is that? And how stressed am I about that thing that I think is so important? Getting my child to the soccer game on time, and I'm racing through my minivan, getting them there as they're shoving food in their mouth to get out of the car in the nick of time. What would happen if you took a breath? What if you thought it was just so ridiculous? How ridiculous is that? It's so silly. And what are you teaching those around you along the way? And as you drop into the presence of now and enjoy that moment with them, enjoy the music perhaps on the radio or the steering wheel or the talking with the children about their day, or the feeling of getting their equipment ready and together as you drive off to the field and opening the windows and putting your hand out and feeling the warm air and just enjoying, or putting on a silly song and saying, we're late, or singing a song, we're late. And bringing joy back into the things that you think are so important, but really are they? Are they that important? You have instilled upon your collective consciousness in your children this sense of urgency to do all these things, to meet all these requirements, so that eventually they will have something externally outside of themselves that will make them happy. And yet what you have forgotten to teach them within your school, in the presence of the now, that all the joy that they are seeking, that you're trying to teach them that they have to get, already dwells in them. They're already on the playground having fun. They figured it out. And yet you put them in these boxes and in these things you call education to teach them to be serious. How silly is that? They're already on the playground going down the slide, laughing and having a good time together. And yet you might tap into a first grader and say, why are you working so hard on your letters? And they say, well, I have to learn my letters so that I can read, and I have to read so that I can learn more, so that I can get an A, and then I have to get an A so I can get in the good group of reading, and then if I'm in the good group, I can be in the honor program, and then if I'm in the honor program, I can go to a better school, and if I go to a better school, then I can finally get into the best college, and if I get into that very best college, then I'm going to get the best job, and then I'm going to have the biggest window and the greatest desk and the most money, and then what? I'm going to be happy. Are they? Or are they already happy just playing outside with the kickball? And so it is that what's happened is the programming gets put on you so heavily, layer after layer after layer after layer, that the imprint of the seriousness of all the things you're thinking that you have to do have so much gotten in the way, that the joy that just wants to come out and exude itself, express and be playful and bubbly, has gotten pushed down. It's almost like you're timid or afraid to dance or to yell or to sing, or what will other people think if I'm a terrible singer and I go up and sing, or if I dance and I have no beat? Will they judge me? Can I play on the baseball team, but I don't know how to play? What if I don't hit it? I'm not going to try out then, I'm afraid. All of these things that are conditioned around teaching you very early that somehow you're not enough, you're not good enough, just how you are, that you have to succeed and continue to strive all the time for something externally outside of self to bring you joy. And yes, of course, you want to learn and have wisdom and knowledge and tap into your gifts and share them, and have resources to enjoy and tap into the collective and how your system works. We understand all that. But is it actually what is bringing joy? If you go to a country far away, or perhaps near those nearby, let's say in the country of Bhutan, and you visit a family there in a little tiny modest dwelling where they've got their fire open in one pot, are they having less joy than the one in the mansion who went to Harvard with $1 billion? I don't think so. The joy is not about an external identification with something. It's about the willingness to be present and experience the senses of the birth process of being in the human form with a place of love. It all comes down to one thing always and all the time, and that is love. Love for self, love for others, and recognizing that you are love, that you come from love and you return to love, that you are an awareness of all things. And so we want you to release your anxiety and your fear around death, because you're all going to die. And when it happens, you're just going to merge with that light. You're going to connect with all those beings that you've known in this lifetime who have passed before you. You're going to review your life. And it's going to come not in a singular linear time in the way you experience a movie film now, where it has a sequence of the past, the middle, and the end, but it's going to come like a flooding of a holographic image in which you will see every word you spoke, everything you did, every action, every moment. And we're not telling you this to be fearful of the way you behaved to punish yourself, that you were bad. We're telling you this because we want you to look at that review and feel joy and say, oh, there's me laughing so hard I peed myself. There's me playing outside. There's me swimming and enjoying the ocean. There's me climbing that tree. Oh, there I am petting the animals. We don't want you to look at it and be like, oh, my head was driven in and zeroed in the mind, focused in on a point of something to the point where I have forgotten who I am in a story of regret. So the joy has to be in expanding the vision, expanding and opening. And that's why we want to have the Starseed class, because we want to tap you back in and tune you into those higher frequencies and open up your pineal glands and unlock the codes of light that dwell within, and remind you of the lifetime after lifetimes that you have lived in other moments and civilizations and times in which your gifts were open and active. In terms of the awakening process in the consciousness, you're rapidly awakening. We can see it from our perspective. The light on the planet, the quotation is rising. But it is that you had fragmented to such a piece, so many different parts of self, that it's taking time to put them back together. And so there are moments in time that you can't perceive from your understanding or even understand in your history books, where you are already elevated at that frequency. And we want to tap you into those moments and reconnect you to them so that you can travel not only in your awakened state and in your sleeping state, but in a conscious awareness between dimensions, where you get to access again your connection to our realm, to the angelic realm, to the etheric beings of light, to the Lemurians, to the ones that are here to support and love you, where you can feel them and touch them and spend time with them and let them teach you the tools of living in their temples and the great mystery schools and the old wisdom knowing and knowledge, because we want you to feel joy, to express joy, and to operate and to live and to be driven by the heart, not by the head. So ultimately, the end answer to how it is that you feel more joy is to let go of linear time, to let go of identification of something that will make you happy outside of self, to begin to go inward and remember that the joy was already there. You were born with it. It's just uncovering it, meaning releasing and letting go of the judgment, the shame, the guilt, the unworthiness, all of that, and dropping into the presence of the awareness of the now. And even if you can just get a glimpse, perhaps of a minute a day, where you're in the presence of the now, or even a second to start, or even that you just catch your thoughts and you start to realize that you are not your thoughts, that you are consciousness and you have an awareness of them, then you become the driver of them, and then you can interject new thoughts, and then your reality begins to completely transform and mirror that in which you have an intention around, where you are the driver. So some of the beings that have the greatest connection to joy, well, there are the children, of course, and the new children. Oh, don't get us started on them. They're such beautiful star beings. But it is that the sentient beings of the whales and the dolphins, they exude joy as the dolphins play and they jump. And they don't work in linear time. They work holographically. They speak telepathically, and they have very old ancient ways. And in many ways, they're evolved beyond your understanding. They're operating in very high frequencies, and often you'll see them jump out and spin around in the playfulness of who they are. We want all of you to jump into play. So we want to just tap into them for a moment, because they came in a vision today and they said, oh, we want to squeak and make our sounds and talk to all of you and tell you that you have ridden with us through the seas lifetime after lifetime, and we're here nudging you with our little nose. And they have this nose and they want to go in and nudge something and wake it up in you, and they want to spin in your DNA and light it up. So I want you to just close your eyes for a moment, and we're going to make this very quick, because we know you're still operating in linear time, and God knows this one, Kelly, has something else to do, which is quite funny. But it is that we want you to just tune in for a moment and just pretend, and close your eyes. Just pretend that you're sitting out in the ocean. But on the ocean is this big, beautiful lotus flower. It's enormous. Let's say it's 30 feet wide. And you're just sitting on it. And as you sit on it, you look out at the horizon and you see the beautiful sky. Perhaps the sun is setting. And the dolphin's vibration is coming in now. And what's happening is we're going to do on this call a mini activation to activate more joy in you by opening up your energy centers. So as you're sitting here on this beautiful flower, I want you to feel the vibration and tune in and start to sense a dolphin. Kind of feel what their skin feels like and that big smile on their face. You might see them jumping out of the water. And 144 of them, which is a sacred number for the awakening consciousness that is going to move into the strands of your DNA, reactivating you back into a higher consciousness, is coming forward to support you in this now moment. And as they begin to come in and arrive, they're swimming around you, creating a pool of energy that is spinning and spinning and spinning. And they are infusing this spinning energy with a bright, sparkling light like glitter of joy and playfulness. They're coming in and laughing and jumping and playing and splashing all around you. And as they do it, 2 of the 144 are going to break off from the pod, and one is a female and one is a male. And as they break off, they're going to swim out to sea a bit away from the flower. And as they swim out, they're going to turn around and come in speed, love, lightning speed, with their noses coming together as the female comes right up to your third eye and takes the top of her head and nudges you with her nose. And as she nudges you, she opens up your third eye. And as she opens it, she moves in, creating an infinity sign, spinning and spinning and spinning all around the center, recalibrating your left and right hemisphere to reintegrate them. And the beautiful masculine male energy of the dolphin comes in from behind, and he comes in and nudges you at the back of your neck, the mouth of God, the opening to the connection to the divine. And as he nudges it, he swims in, and imagine them swimming in together inside your head, becoming small and dancing as they dance around in a spiral like your DNA, connecting and spinning and spinning and spinning. And as they spin, they are sparkling and raining joyful light into your pineal gland, opening and activating it as you are filled with joy and love. And after they do that, they come back out the top of your head, out the crown, as if a spout of beautiful water is spouting out of your head. And they are just now jumping and playing and spinning as they nosedive down back into the ocean waters, and they swim out. And as they swim out, they turn around and they come at full speed as the female comes right into your throat, and the male in the back of your throat. And they come in together and they begin to twist and turn and play and open up and activate the expression of your joy, as they encourage you now to sing and to play and to laugh so hard that you want you to laugh so hard after this call is over that you just can't believe that your stomach hurts so much from so much laughing, as they activate the vibration of laughter and joy within your throat. And as they do that, they are spinning and they move up through the pineal gland, and they spin and they open up and bring more and more joy again into the third eye, so that you may see beyond the veil of this illusion out the top of your head, as they spurt out in fountain, jumping down and spinning and playing and turning. They come back at full speed as they come into your heart, as the female comes into the front of your heart and the male behind, nudging, and they move and they spin and they open and they play with the activation of love, as they want you to feel joy and love, reminding you tonight to kiss and hold and care for and play and have games and laughter and joy with your family and those around you, or call an old friend, bringing joy and remembrance of playfulness in the heart. And they spin and opening your heart chakra, activating the vibration of joy. And as they do that, they move up and spinning again in the throat, laughing and playing and moving and out the top again, all the way out as they go deeper, further out into the ocean, as they're splashing all around. They come in at lightning speed into the solar plexus. And as they come in from the front and the back, they meet each other, dancing and spinning and playing, and they activate and open your power. And the joy is they're tickling you in the stomach. They tickle you so much that you can't stand it, as you're laughing as hard as you can, bringing and activating joy, coming into the powerful being and the remembering of who you are. They take that power and they turn it and they twist it and they open your DNA, filling and pouring crystalline joy inside, as they move it all the way up through your tube, through all your systems, out like a beautiful fountain of gorgeous light dropping down into the ocean. And as they spin and stir and play, they come again even further out in the waters, deep beneath the sea, at their furthest and fastest speed, all the way into your sacral plexus and into the front and the back, as they twist again, opening up your sexuality and your sense of creativity, where they activate you playing and singing and jumping and making love and kissing and loving each other. They're opening the music and the playfulness and the dancing and the acting and the writing and the poems and the cooking and all the playfulness of joy, as they open up that center so that you can fully open it and feel it. They have activated it, and they begin spinning and spinning and spinning through your power and your heart and your throat and your third eye, as they twist again together. They're having so much fun. One more time, all the way out, as far as they can go, coming all the way back in. And as they're coming, they're going to come up underneath now, under the flower, as they push their nose up right through your root. And they connect you with Mother Earth and her beauty and the joy of being a little boy or a little girl playing outside and smelling the air, the elements, until you're so tired you don't want to come in at night. The joy of exhaustion, of pure play, in the bliss of the presence of the now, connecting you to the beauty of the earth and the childlike energy. They activate that now within you as they spin it and spin it and spin it, opening and opening it as they twist like beautiful DNA, twisting all the way up your tube, out your crown again, raining joy down and around you until you're just bathed on that beautiful lotus flower in a bubble of sparkling, laughing, tickling joy. And then they come up from the sea, they look you in the eye, they make a squeaking sound, using their sonar, and they say, I love you. Go and play and have some fun. I'll see you again on the other side. And so with that, we have activated joy within you, the vibration of remembering to play. We love you. You are divine and perfect as you are. Be present in the stillness of the now and know that you are an awareness and a consciousness much larger and bigger than the mind, that you are eternal and perfect. Many blessings and good day.
I guess we'll talk about death next week.
Well, I never have control over what comes in. Well, I'm so grateful to all of you who got on the call today, and I hope you had the most beautiful, joyful day. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of those of you that donate to this call every Sunday. I really appreciate that. And please, I hope you're going to join our Starseed class. I'm so excited about it, and I would love to have you in it. And I guess that's it. I'll see you guys next Sunday. If we want to take, what time do we have, Casey? Let's see.
We should probably.
We really have to go. We have to run another program, but I love you. Mwah, and I'll see you next Sunday. All right. Bye, everybody. Good night.
Thanks so much, Kelly. That was
Thank you,
wonderful.
Kelly.
I love you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank
It was
you.
amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Have a good week.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Kelly.
you too.
So
Thank you,
giddy
Kelly.
right now.
Thank
Thank you.
We love
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're
So many giggles in my
welcome.
belly.
See you in the
So
Starseed
happy.
class, baby.